Hello everyone, welcome back to Namalax Bangalore Presents Current Issue of the Day. Today we'll discuss India's RCEP strategy minus China. This is India's ingenious solution to get benefits of the RCEP while getting rid of the negatives. So we'll discuss what is this RCEP minus China strategy, how is it going to address India's issues, and how is it going to benefit India while isolating China. So we'll discuss what is RCEP, what is India's moves, how India is escaping this, and what should be the way forward. So the topic is India's RCEP strategy minus China. So aim is to secure market access without strategic vulnerability. We'll discuss. It is a sophisticated approach connecting economy, international relations, strategic autonomy, and Indo-Pacific geopolitics, which is essential for UPSC GS2, GS3, as well as interview preparation. People who are going to attend interview in the January 5th, be ready for questions on India, RCEP, India, and ASEAN countries. So first we will understand what is this RCEP and why India did not become part of RCEP. So RCEP is short form for regional comprehensive economic framework. Regional comprehensive economic framework. This is currently the world's largest economic bloc, not only economic but also political bloc as well. So who are the members? The regional economic partnership represents a monumental shift in global trade architecture, which is designed basically to integrate East Asia or ASEAN countries into world's largest production base, that is basically China and other countries. So who are the members here? Members is ASEAN, that is the 10 members, plus China, Japan, South Korea, Australia, and New Zealand. So it is 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Total 15 members are there. So who are the 10 members of ASEAN? So I will give you a basic shortcut to remember the members of ASEAN. Shortcut to remember the members of ASEAN. That is MBBS Clip TV. MBBS Clip TV. So the M is Malaysia. M is Malaysia. One B is Burma. Another B is Brunei. And S is Singapore. Most of the people forget Singapore as part of ASEAN. C is Cambodia. Very important for interview going student because Cambodia is fighting with another Asian country, that is T, Thailand. And L is Laos. So Laos is actually called as land of white elephants in the world. And I is Indonesia, which is the largest country in the ASEAN grouping. And P is Philippines. P is Philippines and V is Vietnam. Okay, so these are the 10 members of ASEAN, and RCEP includes 5 more. Who are those 5 more members? They are Japan, China, South Korea, Australia, and New Zealand. So ASEAN plus 5 more countries makes it the world's largest trading bloc. Why? Because they carry the economic weight of approximately 30% of the global GDP, population, and international trade. As you can see, since China is part of this grouping, obviously it is going to dominate in terms of economy as well as population. Next, it is a very important strategic weapon for China as well, because it is a China-centric manufacturing integration model. So basically, though the aim is to integrate ASEAN countries or Southeast Asia with the manufacturing hubs, the manufacturing hub itself here is China. And apart from this, why was this important? It is important for the integration depth as well. It is not only a mere economic integration, it includes comprehensive coverage of tariffs, investments, intellectual property rights, e-commerce, as well as supply chains. It is not just bookish, it also involves practical implementation where economy needs certain changes. Next, why did India decide to exit from RCEP 2019? Previously, when there were talks of bringing RCEP into fruition, India was considered as part of RCEP, making it the 16th member. It had the backing of majorly Japan, Australia, and other Asian countries. They wanted India to be part of this grouping because India presents large market base. So most of the countries wanted to get benefit of the large market that is present in India. So everyone wanted India to be part of RCEP. Many people even pushed, meaning the sense most of the member states in the RCEP pushed the deadlines by years together to bring India into this grouping. But ultimately, India decided to not join this RCEP out of strategic interest, out of Indian economic concerns as well. So, what are those concerns? Those concerns were India's decision to opt was rooted mainly in structural economic concerns and strategic calculations and not emotional or political considerations. When India decided to not join RCEP, Prime Minister Modi famously articulated that RCEP in its present form does not reflect the basic spirit of the agreed guiding principles. Initially, the guiding principles were different, which was aimed at benefiting all the members. But the RCEP that is presently working actually focused mainly on China and the ASEAN countries. So India was going to get negatives, more of negatives than the positives by joining RCEP. So India took a strategic decision. So what are the reasons? One is China flood risk. So that is India is already suffering from the dumping from China. If at all India was part of RCEP, then the vulnerability to the dumping practices followed by China and potential failure of import substitution strategies would have crumbled Indian economy, especially the Indian manufacturing sector. So India decided not to become part of RCEP. Next, weak rules of origin. It facilitated indirect Chinese entry into Indian markets via the ASEAN nations. What is this rules of origin? So what happens in economy is basically if you consider a country, for example China, is dumping their goods into a country, suppose India, in these considerations or in this aspect, if we find that China is dumping their goods into India at the lower cost of price or lower market price that they are selling in China, then India had a recourse with respect to anti-dumping duty. So what was the solution for India with respect to this? India had anti-dumping duty. India has imposed anti-dumping duty on China many a times. But now what was happening here is the main principle which used to apply here was rules of origin. So the rules of origin here is China is the origin of the products. So India could like put anti-dumping duties. But now what happens here with respect to RCEP? So with respect to RCEP, what will happen is China is going to continue dumping, but it will not directly dump into India. How is it going to dump into? It is going to use the RCEP members, that is ASEANs. So it is going to dump from China to India. So basically they are bypassing the rules of origin. So in strict terms, if China is using ASEAN or other countries to just transport their goods from their country into finally into India, this would be anti-ethical. This would be anti-competitive measures and it would be subjected to countervailing duty or anti-dumping duty. But the rules of origin rules are very weak in current RCEP, which means China could indirectly use ASEAN or other members to dump into India. So India was not agreeing to this. So the rules of origin were very weak with respect to RCEP. Next, trade deficit concerns. Not only with China, but also with other members of RCEP, India had deficits. So the existing deficit exceeded 100 billion with China posed escalation risks. Also, India had trade deficit with most of ASEAN countries. Most of ASEAN countries. So India decided to build upon its structural vulnerabilities and then to join its RCEP. Next is the agricultural sensitivity. One of the major reason for India not to join RCEP is this agricultural sensitivity and the concerns raised by the agricultural or farmers. That is, it threatened domestic dairy as well as plantation sectors vulnerable to competition, especially the dairy from bovine rich countries of Australia and New Zealand and the plantation sectors, especially from Malaysia and Indonesia. These sectors were very prone to competition from these two countries. So India decided not to join the RCEP. And finally, another major reason is the current MSME vulnerability of Indian MSMEs. This exposed infant or nascent industries of the Indian MSMEs to premature international competition. We are still stuck in MSME, medium small enterprises, whereas China has already gone to complete big industries. So if we had joined RCEP, it would have exposed our MSMEs to the larger industries of South Korea, Japan, China, as well as Australia. So India decided to not join this grouping. Now, what India is doing is India is going for RCEP minus China paradigm. Why? Why does India have to go for RCEP minus paradigm? China paradigm? Because the groupings or the countries in the RCEP are of very important nature, very importance for India, especially in terms of economy. Very important for India, especially in terms of economy. So India is trying to bypass China and get the benefits of RCEP. How is it doing it? It is called as, many call this as smart risk management approach. That is, India has crafted an ingenious solution, that is securing the gain access to RCEP's market access benefits while avoiding its systematic risks. This approach is described by many trade experts as smart risk management. This represents a fundamental reimagining of regional economic integration. The strategy centers on bilateral free trade agreements with 14 of the 15 RCEP members, which deliberately excludes China to prevent manufacturing hollowing out while retaining tariff sovereignty and policy autonomy. So basically, instead of having an agreement with all the countries of RCEP together, India basically, instead of having agreements with all the countries of RCEP, what India is doing is India is having FTAs, free trade agreements or bilateral trade agreements between the members of RCEP, such as Indonesia, such as Japan, such as South Korea, such as Australia, such as New Zealand, etc., etc., excluding the major threat to India, that is China. So we are going to get benefits of RCEP. How? Through the bilateral trade agreements between all the members of RCEP except China. So basically, we are getting the benefits of RCEP without being the members of RCEP. So that is called as smart risk assessment or management. How are the India doing it? They are doing it through bilateral free trade agreements. So here we are getting access without the integration trap set up by China. Second is, it results in China exclusion, which prevents industrial hollowing, which prevents exposing our nascent MSMEs to the global competition. Next is, India retains tariff sovereignty. If India had become member of RCEP, India would have lost the tariff sovereignty because India had to put the same tariffs to all the countries or all the members because they are part of a grouping and not an individual country. Now, by having free trade agreements between the countries, they maintain the policy autonomy. Next is selective opening, that is, sector specific safeguards will remain with India. Okay, so that is why India, this move is considered as a good move, especially from India. Next, India China trade framework, which is a controlled engagement. It doesn't mean that we are completely moving away from India. India has deliberately maintained China at preferential trade agreement, but not free trade agreement, because preferential trade agreement level through APTA, avoiding a comprehensive free trade agreement. This strategic choice prevents blanket duty-free access to Chinese goods and ensures control engagement rather than complete dependency. Okay, so this is a very good move, especially from the Indian perspective. So they are using this through APTA framework, that is limited concessions on selective products while maintaining strategic flexibility and tariff leverage. And then no comprehensive FTA prevents unrestricted market access and preserves policy instruments for domestic industry protection. Next is strategic outcome will be controlled economic engagement without creating structural dependency on the Chinese goods, especially in the strategic ones. Next, why RCEP pose systematic risk to India? We already discussed this. Just going through this is mainly because of weak rules of origin and tariff cuts. Next is block discipline, meaning once you give accent to the block, you will be giving up your sovereignty indirectly. Next is investment rules, all were in favor of China, and then supply chain lock-in. This was overly or totally dependent on China. So by moving out of RCEP and going for RCEP China minus one strategy, India is going to leverage all the benefits of this RCEP grouping without being the member of RCEP. Next, India's FTA network with RCEP members. So, how is India doing like trade with other members of RCEP? How is it going to leverage? As I told you, with respect to other members, India has free trade agreements. For example, in 2010, India went for ASEAN India TI GFA, which covered a comprehensive agreement which is currently under renegotiation for deeper integration. All the aspects that are present in RCEP are covered under this free trade agreement between ASEAN. But what we are excluding is we are excluding China. Next, in 2010, we also had South Korea Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, which also covered most of the goods which facilitated bilateral trade. And then we have 2011 Japan CEPA, meaning strategic partnership covering goods, services, and investment. So, getting the benefits of RCEP without being the member of RCEP. Next, in 2022, India went for Australia ECTA, that is Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement in the Indo-Pacific engagement. So, India also focused mainly on the Indo-Pacific engagement as well. And finally, in December 2025, in this year, India went for New Zealand Free Trade Agreement. It is this aspect why we are discussing India RCEP minus China strategy. Concludes the RCEP minus China strategy with the comprehensive Pacific integration as well. So, not only ASEAN but also all the other members of RCEP as well, minus China. So, this is a strategic move or a significant move from the India. So, what is this New Zealand Strategic Free Trade Agreement? So, majorly it is about strategic closure, which completes the vision. That is, India and New Zealand Free Trade Agreement represents the strategic culmination of India's RCEP minus China approach, achieving comprehensive Pacific integration without block level vulnerabilities that the RCEP presents. So, based on this, it will result in 20 billion investment commitment, that is capital inflows supporting the industrial development, and zero tariff duties on key Indian exports, which enables market expansion, which enables access to Indian goods. And then 14 out of 15 RCEP coverage, that is FTAs with all the members except China. So this is how India is achieving its aim of getting the benefits of RCEP without having to face the brunt of its vulnerabilities. But there are certain strategic challenges which needs to be addressed. What are the strategic challenges? One is ASEAN trade deficit. What India fears with China, India already has a trade deficit with ASEAN countries as well, be it Indonesia, be it Malaysia, Philippines, etc., etc., especially when it comes to agricultural goods. So India is also having trade deficit with ASEAN members. So rebalancing ATI-GFA through the targeted negotiations and export promotions in high value sectors so that both the countries get the benefit out of each other. Next, MSME competitiveness. Even if we are going to exclude China, we will be exposing our MSMEs to already outgrown countries like South Korea and Japan and Australia. Those economies or those industries are already at the mature stage. So exposing our MSMEs to those companies is going to be a risk as well. So productivity reforms, technology adoption, and skill development for the global competitiveness is the need of the hour. And then China-centric GVCs, that is supply chain diversification through the production-linked incentives and strategic partnerships, so that India becomes part of the supply chain network. Supply chain network is very important. And then geopolitical pressure, that is strategic plurilateralism. Plurilateralism, balancing economic integration with the national security imperatives. This is also very important. So to conclude, strategic globalization with the strategic autonomy should be the way forward. First, we should focus on strategic innovation, that is market access without systematic vulnerabilities. We have to address these systematic vulnerabilities. We cannot keep opting out of these integrations, keep opting out of these regional blocks because of our structural issues. We have to address the structural issues, and we have to become a country which is not afraid of becoming member of any kind of groupings. And next is need of policy autonomy, that is maintaining sovereign decision making capacity. And finally, economic integration, that is engagement calibrated to the nation's capabilities, that is national capabilities. So that should be the way forward. But at the present moment, what we need is to escape the burnt of China's goods or China's industries, that we are achieving with RCEP minus China strategy. So this is today's current issue of the day. If you have any doubts, write down in the comment box. If you like the video, then please hit the like button, comment on it, and also share with your friends. With this, I will be ending the video. Jai Hind, Jai Karnataka.